The following film is the video portion of an E6-4 lesson. E6-4 is the computerized curriculum designed for homeschools, Christian schools, family worship, Sunday schools, and church Bible study groups. The software contains many features, including family worship, music, competition builder, computer-supervised lesson plans, and more.
Let me tell you a little story about a man named George Washington. Born in Virginia on February 22, 1732, he would become the only president to receive every electoral vote. A very tall man, Washington began his military career at 20 years old, joining up with the Virginia militia. At 26, he married Martha Custis and helped raise her 2 children. By his 40s, George was earning his stripes, commanding troops of the Continental Army to victory in the Revolutionary War. In 1789, he was chosen as America's first president. During that time, he helped create the first presidential cabinet system and national bank. Today, Washington's image can be seen on Mount Rushmore, the dollar bill, and quarter. He has his own monument, the tallest in D.C. America's national capital is named after him, as well as a state, the only one to be named after an American president. On December 14, 1799, while checking his farms in the freezing rain, George Washington developed pneumonia and died at the age of 67. And there you go, a little story about a man named George. Let me tell you a little story about a man named John Adams. Born in Massachusetts on October 30th, 1735, he would become one of the nation's first constitutional lawyers. Considered one of the most influential founding fathers, his first stint in politics was as a delegate in the Continental Congress during the Revolutionary War. At 28, he married Abigail Smith and together raised 6 children, including John Quincy, who would become the nation's 6th president. Through his years, he helped draft the Declaration of Independence and wrote the Massachusetts State Constitution. John was the first to nominate George Washington as Commander-in-Chief during the Revolutionary War and John Marshall as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. In 1789, he ran alongside George Washington, becoming America's first vice president. 8 years later, he was elected as the nation's 2nd president. In 1800, he lost his re-election to Thomas Jefferson and became one of 4 presidents in history not to attend his successor's inauguration. John Adams died on July 4, 1826, at the age of 90. Ironically, that day, Thomas Jefferson also passed, all while America celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And there you go, a little story about a man named John. Let me tell you a little story about a man named Thomas Jefferson. Born in Virginia on April 13, 1743, he would become the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. His family name and hard work prepared him to be one of America's most famous founding fathers. In addition to writing the Declaration, he was the first U.S. Secretary of State, the 2nd Vice President, and 3rd President. During his presidency, Jefferson brokered the Louisiana Purchase and the Lewis and Clark Expedition, who would have been completely lost if not for their faithful GPS, also known as Sacagawea. Tom co-founded one of the country's major political parties and is the only president to serve 2 terms without vetoing a single bill of Congress. He was an architect, inventor, lawyer, and founder of the University of Virginia, the only American university to be founded by a U.S. president. At 29, Jefferson married Martha Wales Skelton and together raised 6 children. Today, Tom's image can be seen at the Jefferson Memorial, Mount Rushmore, $2 bill, and the nickel. Let's face it, we all know Franklin got the better deal in the money department. Ironically, Thomas Jefferson died on July 4, 1826, the same day as John Adams and the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And there you go, a little story about a man named Tom. Let me tell you a little story about a man named James Madison. Born in Virginia on March 16, 1751, he would be known as the father of the Constitution. Madison graduated from what is now Princeton University. 24 years later, he married Dolly Payne Todd and together raised one child. Considered one of America's founding fathers, Madison penned the U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, and much of the Federalist Papers. He also came up with the concept for the three branches of government we still use today. Madison was the nation's 5th Secretary of State and 4th President, making him the first president to serve in Congress. He supervised the Louisiana Purchase, Embargo Act of 1807, War of 1812, and helped form a political party. Today, Madison's name lives on, including 2 Navy ships, the capital of Wisconsin, and the $5,000 bill. On June 28, 1836, James Madison died at his family's estate in Virginia. The 85-year-old was the last living founding father. And there you go, a little story about a man named James. Let me tell you a little story about a man named James Monroe. Born in Virginia on April 28, 1758, he would become the last founding father to serve as president. At 18, he dropped out of college to join the Continental Army, where he befriended George Washington. 4 years later, he went back to school to study law under Thomas Jefferson. At 27, James married Elizabeth Courtwright and together raised 3 children. Destined for a life in politics, he served in the Continental Congress, Senate, and as governor of Virginia. He was also Secretary of State and Secretary of War at the same time. In 1817, James Monroe was elected as the nation's 5th president, winning 80% of the vote. Sadly, he was also the last president to wear a powdered wig and knee breeches. Many say James is most famous for proclaiming the Monroe Doctrine, which said the U.S. wouldn't stand for any more European interference in Latin America. The capital city of the West African country of Liberia is also named after him, and he is featured in the painting of George Washington crossing the Delaware. James died in New York on July 4, 1831, at the age of 73, becoming the 3rd president to die on Independence Day. And there you go, a little story about a man named James. Let me tell you a little story about a man named John Quincy Adams. Born in Massachusetts on July 11, 1767, he would become the first president in history to have a father also serve as president. In 1788, he graduated from Harvard, pursuing a career in law. While working in England, Adams married Louisa Catherine Johnson and remains the only president to have a foreign-born First Lady. John served in the House of Representatives, Senate, and as Secretary of State. In 1824, during the presidential race, Andrew Jackson won the popular vote. However, the Electoral College voted in favor of John. Enter the nation's 6th president, John Quincy Adams. Like his father, John only served 1 term. He and his father were 2 of 3 presidents who did not attend their successors' inaugurations. Adams is the only president to be elected into the House of Representatives after leaving office. In 1843, he became the first president to sit for a photograph. On February 21, 1848, during a heated session of Congress, Adams collapsed to the floor. 2 days later, at the age of 80, he died inside the speaker's room in the Capitol building. And there you go, a little story about a man named John. We are pioneers, adventurers. We are treasonous rebels. We are inventive. We are victorious. We are out of this world. We are equal. We are kind. We are Americans. We do not need to be led. We lead. Knowledge is power. Be empowered. FreedomProject.com.
The film you have just watched is the video portion of an E6-4 lesson. E6-4 is the software curriculum that provides education with a strong biblical worldview.
And now, here's Bethany to show you how E6-4 helps my wife, Jacqueline, plan for some special times to focus on important tasks and still manage the children's education.
Hi, my name is Bethany, and this is my mother, Jacqueline. Tell us what you're doing today, Mom.
I'm working in the office today. I have about 4 hours worth of work to do to finish up our income taxes for the year and get them in the mail. And since the children are a great interruption to that process, making it virtually impossible to finish, Maddie is going to be supervising their schoolwork today for me, and they're all forbidden to come in the office.
So the children are on their own. What are they doing? Does today have to be a non-school day? Not at all, because we use E64. Let's start in the den and see what the children are doing. We have 3 laptop computers set up here in the den. Let's visit with Sutara first. Hi, Sutara. Why don't you tell us what you're working on today?
I'm working on E64 math.
Wow. So what other things can you do with E64?
English, history, science, and Bible studies.
That's neat. So how do you know what lesson you're supposed to be working on?
I don't have to know. I just log in with my name, and the program goes right to the lesson where I'm supposed to be. And if I stop in the middle of a lesson, when I sign back in, it remembers where I was.
That's great. Let's go take a look at what Madison and Gavito are doing. Hi, boys. What are y'all working on today?
Learning to read.
What are you reading about?
Noah the Ark. It's so cool. Look, here's all the animals coming out of the ark.
That is cool. Let's go see what Madara is working on. Hi, Madi. I see you're doing your E64 schoolwork. What are you studying?
Today I'm learning about how to care for babies and infants.
Aw, that sounds so exciting. What else will you do today?
Today is Mom's bill paying day, so in addition to my own schoolwork, it's my job to see that the children do their chores and their schoolwork. There are not enough computers for everybody, so while Joshua is doing his E64, I have Yedick working on his chores. After about an hour, I'll have them swap out. I do the same thing with Armand and Satara.
How do you know what each child needs to be working on?
Mom has chore cards she makes for each one of the children, so I just have to read their card to know what chores they are supposed to do. And she has already made their lesson plan for E64, so I just follow the lesson plan for each child. The computer keeps track of their schoolwork. All I have to do is make sure they are working and not being idle.
How do you do that?
That's easy. Watch this. If I press F3, it comes up with a daily record showing everything I've done today, including the times. So from time to time, I just go around, look at the daily record for each of the children. I can see everything he or she has done or not done, as the case may be.
Thank you, Madi. Let's go see what's going on in the great room. Here we have Armand. What are you working on today, Armand?
Right now I'm working for Wally, building question sets for just the Bible. Wally makes the videos and I do the question sets.
That's interesting. What else will you be doing today?
I will have to do my E64 lessons.
What kind of lessons?
Math, English, history, science, and Bible studies.
Thank you so much, Armand. Now let's go see what Wally's doing. Hi, Wally. What are you working on?
I'm working on creating the video for the next lesson in Mom's Learning to Read lesson series.
Wow. Will you be doing anything else today?
Yes, I'm going to be working on my E64 lessons.
Thank you, Wally. And now, we see how Jacqueline can keep the children on track with their schoolwork and still have time to get her important paperwork done. The key is the lesson plan feature of E64. Because she has designed lesson plans for each of the children, E64 will provide the instruction with very little intervention needed by a teacher. A third feature is the family worship mode, which is ideal for family worship, school chapel services, family Sunday school classes, or church Bible study groups. Once you set up your lesson plan, this mode offers instruction and catechism, one lesson section at a time. reminds you to do prayer, thanksgiving and praise, Bible memorization, and includes a complete music section with songs and hymns for worship. Each song can be played with or without the vocals. Another E64 feature is the competition mode, where you create a lesson plan and the program randomly selects question sets from the lessons to create a fun and exciting competition, which can be as small as the competition our family does every day in our daily family worship, to as large as the Southeast Bible competition we conducted with multiple rounds and prizes, including a new laptop computer and tickets to a major theme park. Another feature is Apples of Gold, a computerized parlor game for more advanced students, where two clue givers devise clues to help their teams come up with a phrase from the Bible. To schedule the Homeschool Advantage to come to your church or homeschool conference and teach your people how to use computer software to build strong biblical households, contact Captain Bret at 678-570-2195 or email terabenth@inbox.com.